you just described one of the biggest stories in this state that is not being told. And I get the temptation. Beating up on Republicans is...
It's fun. It's easy.
It's fun. And number one,
They're
but the more
embarrassing.
important is it's easy because they do things out in... They hang their dirty laundry out in the open for everyone to see, and they can't seem to stop. Democrats, on the other hand, they're much more disciplined, and they really try to contain that stuff. And when it leaks out, it's not pretty at all. But it is one of the biggest untold stories as of yet in the state, is how much hate and discontent there is amongst that Democratic majority. And this is what happens when you're a one-party rule, right? The fights actually end up over here between the Democrats, and the story will eventually have to be told because it's gonna keep leaking out.
Mike Krause is the editor of CompleteColorado.com for, oh my God, 17 years now. Let's take a look at media outside of just Complete Colorado. The state, I remember media. I remember 2 newspapers. I remember radio stations that had different news and commentators on it. This town, the state, was rich with choices for people to find information on local and state issues. It seems to be barren. I'm thrilled that the Denver Gazette is here. I think it's great to finally have a second newspaper. What's happened to the Denver Post is it's just sad, but it's unavoidable. What is the state of Colorado reporting? This is something you keep your finger on all the time.
I'd say, by the way, I agree with you about the Gazette. I think that it's one of the best things that happened to the Post in a long time was for the Gazette to actually come along. And one of the things I really like is that as you've watched, the Post used to be a very robust editorial page, and that has been in decline. The Gazette, on the other hand, is a very robust editorial page, which I think is really adds value to the state.
It's amazing on that. Mm-hmm. The Gazette has a Colorado-based or Denver-based house editorial every single day, as any, I think, daily paper should, but daily papers don't.
They don't do that anymore.
The Denver Post doesn't have a house editorial. It doesn't opine on these things, and it's not there. It comes out, maybe there's a house editorial once or twice a week. It's bizarre.
There are daily newspapers in Colorado that have simply stopped doing house editorials altogether. Not the Post, but other big ones, and one of them comes to mind, I believe, up in Fort Collins. They just stopped doing it as the paper shrunk, and so the Gazette has filled a nice little niche. It's very robust, and it's got a lot of value.
That's great for Denver, but
the rest of the state.
The rest of the state, if Fort Collins has issues in Fort Collins that deserve people weighing in on it on a local level, including editorialists.
So you use the word barren, and it's an interesting choice of words because in some ways it's barren, and that would be in a lot of local coverage of local politics. There are city councils and county commissions out there doing things. Being not covered. They're not being covered well. And so they get to do a lot of things that nobody really even knows about. You don't even know about it. If you're not going to the county website or the city website and looking at the agenda, you're not going to know what's going on. I live in Edgewater, which is 5,000 people. Nobody covers the Edgewater. No major media outlet covers our city council as a rule. So you have to go look, you have to go chase down what they're doing. You can't just go up in the morning and go, okay, let's see what they did to me yesterday, right, like that. But the State House gets covered pretty well, I think. There's a lot of reporters, there's a lot of State House reporters. There are a lot of digital nonprofit media outlets now that are doing political reporting, and they're focused on mostly at the state level, the ones that are doing Colorado work. So it gets covered. It gets covered differently though than it used to when we were when we had the Denver Post and the Rocky Mountain News, right? 2 newspaper town.
You think about them, between the 2 of them, they had over 500 reporting staff. 500 people bringing us the news.
Massive. The 2 newsrooms combined were massive.
Yeah.
They were in competition with one another. They were in competition for circulation. They were in competition for breaking stories, right? It's no longer competition. It is now collaboration.
Explain that word, because I keep hearing that word in journalism, collaboration. What do you mean?
Well, so there are progressive-leaning, nonprofit media outlets that are combining forces to cover the state capitol, and then they share each other's work, okay?
Put some names to that.
So sure, for example, I'm going to see if I can get all the names right, but there's a Capitol collaborative project that was going on this last legislative session in 2025, and I believe it was KUNC, which is a public media outlet attached to Colorado Public Radio, the Colorado Sun, and then another not-for-profit media outlet. So the four of them got some money, and they put together a collaborative, and they're covering the Capitol, and they publish each other's work. And so you'll read one person's work in one outlet. So you have a 1 in 4 chance of seeing, I guess. Well, I don't know how the math actually acts, but they're collaborating, right? And so here's the problem with this collaboration is that, let's say you read something if I read the Colorado Sun's article in Colorado Public Radio, and they got something wrong. Now it's been published in 3 or 4 different places. Do all 4 of those places go back and do a correction? No, actually they don't. There's a lot of potential issues with this, but this is going on, and you'll see this, that especially with the public media, that they are publishing other people's work. So there's a lot of collaboration going on. And there is, but they all have one thing in common, and they would all kind of fall into this definition of like a progressive-leaning press.
Well, you've got, let's see, 2 of them are run by government money. And then,
well, not anymore.
Well, we'll see. I got to tell you.
Well, they get local government money.
They still get local government money. And furthermore, this whole, we've stopped giving money to government media.
This year.
Yeah, this year. Next year, I have a feeling government media will come rolling back.
And Trump will be gone in 3 years.
Right.
And we'll see what happens then.
This reminds me a lot of what happened in radio. And it's starting to happen in television as well. Right. And what you have is a conglomeration that one company ends up owning several stations. So instead of having a reporter or 2 on every station, you just get rid of them all, and you have one reporter, one sports guy, and they do the reports for all 8 stations. And so you get one viewpoint. Not like there was a whole lot of difference between CPR and the Colorado Sun. There's no daylight between them, pun intended. But you lost those voices because now you've got people sharing the news stories, which means you have one point of view being shared on all these different platforms. I always love it when the guy on radio mispronounces the town's name during a traffic report.
You know he's not from around there,
when he
right?
says, well, there's a pileup on US 36 near Louisville. You go, that's because he's actually out in Pennsylvania or something, just looking at a map and doing it for 50 different stations.
Right.
And so while that happened on the corporate side with radio, and it looks like it could be happening again with television, that Tegra is being sold off to Nexstar, so we might have 4 TV stations run by one company.
Right.
This is just not good for anyone.
Well, yeah, there is no...
Except maybe the stockholders.
I assume the stockholders, yeah. No, this just there's a lot of media out there, right? But it has changed. It has changed over the years, and now what you're seeing is more niche, not-for-profit, digital operations, which are just the natural outcropping of the internet and of newspaper advertising going away, for the most part. So you're seeing more and more of that in Colorado, but you're also seeing more of this collaboration, right? And there's also the oh gosh, I'm going to forget the name of them. Anyway, they do investigative pieces, and you'll see it in 30 or 40 different Colorado newspapers, right?
It's called Collab.
Collab, yeah. And they'll do a piece and they'll do these big investigative pieces, and then 30 or 40 different media outlets, digital and traditional print, will all share them, and this is all organized collaboration through the Colorado Press Association. And so the idea, my point here is that the older notion of competition between media outlets, it might still exist in the TV stations, but it is going away for the journalism, the digital media journalism. Collaboration seems to be the future for that, and niche organizations. When I say niche, I mean Chalkbeat Colorado, which just does education reporting.
Right.
Kaiser Family Health Foundation has a healthcare reporting journalism arm. There's Freshwater News. There's Aspen Journalism that does environmental and water issues. Again,
all these seem to be coming from a leftist point of view that has private donors donating to something that then buys.
Well, not just private donors. The money comes from nonprofits that are in turn funded by both private donors and government money.
What government money?
Well, lots of nonprofits get government money that then turn around and make grants to other nonprofits. There's a whole ecosystem of this that goes on in Colorado, and so at some point, it's not just private money funding this. And because money's fungible, right? So if you're a nonprofit. And you're a do-gooder nonprofit, and you have private donors, and then you also get government grants to go out and do things that government wants to kind of outsource to a nonprofit, which we do in Colorado. And then that nonprofit in turns gives money to a nonprofit to do, say, journalism about the health of children in rural parts of Colorado. At some point, there is government money flowing to that, but it's just flowing through several channels before it gets there. So it's like a little ecosystem.
I think about that.
It's darkish money, I guess is the best way.
The difference is, I know Complete Colorado, in all disclosure, is an outgrowth of Independence Institute. Independence Institute is a not-for-profit. Sadly, no government would ever give them money, and by the way, it's against our policy to ever take government money.
Right.
So
you can be pretty certain that there's no government money going to Complete Colorado, right?
I kind of think of the whole housing industrial complex, the homelessness industrial complex. The Denver Rescue Mission or the Homeless Coalition gets all this money, and then they can spend that money giving it to other groups. RTD does the same thing when they give money to transportation management organizations that help spread the word. No, it's propaganda. It's government propaganda, and it's why we don't trust the media.
This is how things end up taxpayer funded, whether they are intended to be or not.
Right.
It's in a roundabout way, right? By the way, you mentioned something interesting. This is an outcrop of Independence Institute. You do know that technically makes you the publisher
of
Complete Colorado. So if you want to know what's going on, let me know and I'll fill you in.
Yeah, that'd be good because you need an illiterate man running a news source.
We need some. Yeah, if you want to edit some stuff, that would be.
No,
that's okay. We're all good.
You run the thing.
We're all good. Okay,
you're
great.
fine.
No, but so the point being that some of these niche nonprofit journalism things, they are recipients of taxpayer money, whether they can say they're not, but at some point, since money's fungible, they're getting money from organizations that get money from organizations that get money from the government.
How is the faith in Colorado media right now? I ask that because faith in media, credibility in media nationwide is at an all-time low. I think of guys like Kyle Clark, who has a huge audience and has developed a rapport with his audience. I don't agree with Kyle on much of anything, but people trust him. He has built a reputation that this is the reporting I do, I stand by it. He is a trusted news source in Colorado. Sean Boyd at Channel 4 has been doing politics, and she does her stuff. When she says something, she is, you can take it to the bank. But do people still trust local press? I don't really trust everything I read in the Post, only half of what I read elsewhere.
If you believe the surveys and the polling, no, trust in media is pretty low, right up there with government, actually, and elected officials. Interesting, yes, there are a lot of people who are considered trusted sources of news, but you said Kyle Clark, and he's an interesting example that he has a big audience of people who trust him. he also has a lot of people who absolutely cannot stand him,
Right.
do not trust him on both sides of the political aisle. So when you get out to the extremes on the right and the left, there is a tremendous amount of distrust for media.
There's also something different there in that Kyle does opinion. Sean
Sure.
Boyd does straight news.
It's different. It's different for Sean over at CBS.
She's a reporter.
She's a reporter. It's different since Kyle has stepped into the opinion realm.
Right.
He is a lightning rod. So he has this. So it's interesting because if you look at the surveys of people's political beliefs, right, there's this huge middle ground, this huge unaffiliated audience. Then it starts narrowing off, and you get to the ends, and like 10 to 15% of the country is hardcore right. 10 to 15. Those people. A really interesting thing happened with Kyle. He weighed in on the Charlie Kirk shooting and the reaction to it. Okay. And I believe it was a next clip where he talked about, hey, we really need to.
It was one of his editorials. I think
editorials. And so he put it on Twitter and was attacked from the right. He put it on Blue Sky, which is the lefty version of Twitter, the left progressive version of Twitter. I don't know that much about it, to be honest with you. Got attacked from the left, right? And so if you go look at the comment thread on the Blue Sky version of it, it's brutal. And if you look at the thread on the Twitter one, it's brutal.
It's brutal.
So he's being brutalized by both sides. So he's trusted here, but then when you get out to the extremes, it's just flipped. And by the way, so like I get emails sometimes saying, like we say one thing somebody disagrees with, like, well, I'm done with you guys. See ya.
I'm going to cancel my subscription.
I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you, man. You can read us or don't read us, one or the other. It's not like we're making
money off you.
If you're going to ask for your money back, but it doesn't take much depending on where you're at, depending on who you're dealing with. So, but a lot of people simply don't trust the media. No, I would agree.
Comments. Do you put comments on, allow comments on Complete?
Oh, comments? We do not have comments. We used to have comments turned on Facebook, and the reason I turned them off was actually that we got spam so relentlessly that I would have to go delete dozens of spam, bizarre, and it just became too much. So no, we don't currently have comments, but comments are not very common anymore, unless it's a social media platform where people can go comment.
It was interesting.
But there was a lot of anonymous. One of the reasons that a lot of people have turned this off is there was a lot of really vicious anonymous commenting going on, and we think and you don't know how much of that is some guy sitting in Moscow, right?
Let me tell you a story
with
about
8,000 accounts.
So when I was the columnist for the Denver Post, they told me I was the most read columnist, and I was well hated by a lot of the readers. But I was read, and for years, every time I wrote a column, once a week, there would be 100 comments, most of them vile, and with a common theme of, I can't believe the Denver Post is giving this guy real estate. This is an embarrassment for the Denver Post. I can't believe they let him. And it's over and over. And there was like 12 guys who every week would do a variation of the same thing. Oh, he's so stupid. My God, what an idiot. What an embarrassment. Embarrassment, embarrassment, embarrassment. And then one week, none of them commented on my column. Now, they always comment. So I had to think about why this is. And I must have written a column that was so good that they all agreed with me, all of them. Or, I had to think a little harder, maybe they're all out of town at the same time,
Sure.
and therefore just, or were sick that day and couldn't read and comment. Or
That guy.
it was one guy,
That guy.
part of the paid-for cancel culture crowd that the left pays to troll and push editors to cancel somebody. And finally it worked.
It did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't have a strong feeling about comments one way or the other. We turned them off. We had them turned on for our Facebook page. And there was just the most bizarre, obviously fake stuff, obviously fake profiles. It's a real problem because it doesn't allow people who want to legitimately weigh in on things much room, much space.
You can't have a conversation.
Oh, you can't have
It's
a
all bumper
conversation.
stickers.
No, we're not. This isn't talk radio, right? This is
All right,
journalism.
last question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. 3 years in the future here in Colorado, what's the shape of local media? I'm not talking about anything from Washington, D.C. I'm talking news, radio, news, TV, newspapers, sites like.
My guess
Complete.
is that there will probably be less. There will be more paywalled news sources. There will be fewer news sources, but there will be a few more new niche, not-for-profit news sources, and probably the dominant legislative news will be this collaboration model between not-for-profit digital news operations that I described earlier, if they can sustain a funding model for it.
I'm also hopeful when I see a group of citizen journalists kind of doing their own thing. I think of Brandon Work, who does the Colorado Free Colorado Project, or Free Colorado, and Corey Gaines, who does the Colorado Accountability Substack project. These are homegrown guys who are activists who just tell people what's going on in local government because nobody else is doing it. I have a hope that that movement spreads from town to town to town, and that there's a guy or a gal that people turn to go to their Substack or to their Facebook or someplace that talks about what's going on locally.
The technology is going to make that easier than it's ever been. It's extremely difficult to sustain because it's a lot of work. Just looking at the amount of work, like we need a full-time editor and 2 full-time reporters and paid columnists to keep Complete Colorado content flowing. To be a one-man show is an enormous bit of yeoman's work. And bless those guys who are doing it, right? And they're doing a great job. I don't know how many people are willing to commit that much time, effort, and energy into this kind of thing.
Just need a few more.
Just a couple more. But
put your toe in the water.
But the other great thing about this is that one person doing that can build an audience. And we can help them, by the way, at Complete Colorado. And they can make a difference. And they can start impacting. And you see that with the 2 names you mentioned. You can see it in their work. You can see it reflected in their work. You can see it reflected in their numbers and in their readership.
See it.
And
the impact they have down at the Capitol.
And the impact they have locally when they weigh in on issues related to local governments. And this is going to be the place. This is going to be the place where people are going to start losing. This is what we're going to lose. The Capitol's going to get covered. Now, we might not like the coverage. We might not like the coverage all that much because it's going to be this collaborative it's going to be at least a little bit left of center, collaborative, not-for-profit digital. It's these city councils and county commissions that are going to, it's municipalities and it's counties that are going to be, they're not going to get covered. And this is where we're going to start losing. This is where the rapid loss is going to come, I believe.
I think the challenge for that collaborative that you talk about and mainstream reporters is to stop reporting on Republicans that don't matter. The idea that Colorado has a near super minority of Republicans. Republicans don't run anything in this town, but any sort of Republican dysfunction, and there's tons of it, it gets front page coverage. And it's fun, and it's easy, and it's great kicking the stray dog.
I get it.
But they have no power. What they don't report on is the growing civil war inside the left in Colorado between the liberals and the socialists, and how awful that is getting, and how that's building and building and building. And they're avoiding that subject completely on purpose.
It's one of the you just described one of the biggest stories in this state that is not being told. And I get the temptation. Beating up on Republicans
it's fun. It's easy.
It's fun. And number one, but the more important is it's easy because they do things they hang their dirty laundry out in the open for everyone to see, and they can't seem to stop. Democrats, on the other hand, they're much more disciplined, and they really try to contain that stuff. And when it leaks out, it's not pretty at all. But it is one of the biggest untold stories as of yet in this state is how much hate and discontent there is amongst that Democratic majority down at that state house. And if you think that it's ugly between those that poor group of
crazy Republicans
with no power,
with less crazy Republicans, that freak show is nothing compared to what's not being told.
The majority, and this is what happens when you're a one-party rule, right? The fights actually end up over here between the Democrats, and the story will eventually have to be told because it's gonna keep leaking out, right?
It's exploding. It is the leftist on leftist violence going on is ridiculous. Hey, congratulations on so many years at CompleteColorado.com. Check out CompleteColorado.com. While you're there, check out ThinkFreedom.com, the Independence Institute. Until next time, think freedom. If you enjoyed that conversation, by all means, click one of these other great programs. We have the best conversations with the most fascinating Coloradans. And subscribe to our channel. Just click down below and hit that little bell button too. You don't want to miss a single show.